Hey there, welcome back to Cryptids and Conspiracies, where the truth is in the middle. Well, we've got some guests that are back. Some people played hooky last week have returned, but we'll start out with the guy who actually was
If
here
it's
last
no
week.
Scottish, it's crap!
Hey!
Who is this young man? Goodness gracious, what happened to your older uncle that was here last week? What happened?
What the heck do you mean? Who the heck is he? Who the heck are you? It's me. Sorry, I'm doing the Billy Connolly thing when he shaved his beard. What do you mean?
Right.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Oh, I
Who the
remember.
hell are you? It's me.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's bring on the guy whose idea this was tonight.
Abby someone. Abby someone. Abby who? Abby normal.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Abby Normal.
Yes.
Anyway, remember anything that happens tonight, if we get taken down off of YouTube or any shenanigans, or we wind up in jail, this was your idea. Anyway.
Mean we're gonna be infamous. Infamous,
definitely. All right. I have to bring him on. Don't I? Yeah.
Well, Wookie and Hooky do kind of sound the same.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
All right, here he is.
There goes the show.
Hey yo.
His cheap Chinese made piece of crap mic boom broke. So if you there's a little fall off on his, the sound of his voice or the sound of his munching.
I have another
whatever.
I have a theory on that. I have a theory.
Oh, you
on
do?
That thing breaking. I do.
Oh.
I do.
Oh, okay. Let me hear it.
I think he was playing with that fucking fry ring, and the damn thing broke on him.
No.
Oh.
And when I say play, I say that in air quotes.
Yes, you do.
There you go.
No, actually, during moving everything out of the bedroom and the hallway for the flooring event that was last weekend, that's why I didn't stream with you fine gentlemen, and I didn't do anything on my channel either, even last night. So yeah, during that time of moving stuff around, it bent that fine, high-quality Chinese thin-ass metal. Yes. Yeah. So
well, shout out to Mrs. Wookie for letting Wookie come and play. Tonight we appreciate.
Oh yeah.
We appreciate that. So,
did she send a note with you, Wookie? Did she send a note?
Yeah.
For you?
Yes. She sent a note, and she says no eating on stream.
No eating on stream. Hey. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Wookie. All right.
I was waiting to see.
Well, we can drink all we want.
There you go. Yeah.
Wookie, you need to get start doing some lock picking, so you can undo the padlock on the ball and chain.
Yeah, there we go. The old Rollins.
Oh, shots fired.
Watch out.
Oh. Okay.
Watch out. Cool. I've got one thing to say about that. Cruel.
Okay.
No soup for you.
Yes.
Anyway.
No soup for you. I'm sorry.
All right. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about Building 7. Now, to be honest, I didn't know Building 7 existed. Up to Abby brought it up.
You didn't know it existed?
I may have heard it in passing, but I didn't know it was reference to 9/11. I've heard of a Building 7, but I don't know what I thought it was, but I didn't realize.
What's the Wookiee laughing at?
I get no respect. When I was born, I was so ugly. The doctor slapped my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be a good
Oh.
one.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Oh dear.
Also, hold on a sec. This one.
Who gives a shit?
I love it.
Anyway,
Oh no.
thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Gobby. Thank you, Mr. Gobby, for that.
Who's working the chat today?
Oh yes.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
All right, B dog.
Ah.
Sorry you're not
Well,
well.
COVID town and it sucks. B dog.
Sucks.
I get well
I
soon.
guess he can't
Well.
travel and brag about where he's at. tonight.
COVID town. Get yourself some of that damn horse paste. It'll fix you up in a day and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Horse
Get some of them
paste
whole
and
pills.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Horse paste.
Now, I don't know the bourbon's recommended, but Anyway,
Keeps you warm.
so let me play a kind of an overview video that will get us into it. So here we.
All right, roll that footage.
For those of you that like me that didn't realize what this was about, so.
New York City, 2001. No tall building had ever collapsed primarily due to fire. But that's exactly what investigators believe happened to the 47-story World Trade Center Building 7 on September 11th. According to a 3-year comprehensive building and fire safety investigation just completed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
World Trade Center 7 collapsed because of fires. We really have a new kind of progressive collapse that we have discovered here, which is a fire-induced progressive collapse. And in fact, we've shown for the first time that fire can induce a progressive collapse.
NIST used detailed data describing the building and its contents to create the most complex computer simulation of a structure collapse ever made. Falling debris from Tower 1 started fires on 10 floors in Building 7. A break in the city water main from the collapse of the towers disabled sprinklers in the lower half of WTC 7, allowing fires on those floors to burn for 7 hours. The NIST computer model was validated with evidence from videos, photos, witness accounts, and other data. It shows that heat from fires expanded long support beams, causing connections and floors to fail.
So you look at the floors failing here, and eventually this column 79 is going to buckle, it fails, and then the entire vertical progression takes place.
The buckled column caused additional collapsed floors and falling debris that removed support from adjacent interior columns. A chain reaction then caused other interior columns to fail in quick succession. The outside shell of the building fell. The NIST team found no evidence that explosives were involved in the collapse.
And our analysis showed that even the smallest explosive charge that was capable of bringing down the critical column in the building, had it occurred, we would have seen sound levels of 120 to 130 decibels about a half a mile away. That would have been an incredibly loud sound, and that sound was not picked up by any of the videos or witnesses that we have talked to.
The team found that World Trade Center 7's design was generally consistent with the relevant building codes when it was built.
Our high-rise buildings in this country are very, very safe. Having a collapse of this nature is a very rare event.
Nevertheless, to ensure that buildings do not collapse in fires, even when sprinklers fail or are not present, the NIST team urges reevaluation of the fire performance of structures with long-span floors and other design elements similar to WTC 7. The team's report also calls for stronger codes, standards, and practices so that other buildings don't suffer the same fate.
All righty. That's the official narrative. Anybody?
Right.
Anybody? What do you think? What do you think?
Rubbish.
Rubbish.
The video I saw earlier, it highlighted columns 79, 80, and 81. And those were directly underneath, or rather supporting, the penthouse, which had added cooling units added to it. So, and there was a power station thing at the bottom of the structure, which is also the reason why they had support beams kind of going along and jutting down rather than it just going directly down, because it would go right through the power station.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think, Wookie?
I agree with B-Dog. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say, and let me grab my microphone here. Do it.
Good God, man. Get it together.
Listening to, I watched that whole video, by the way, that NIST video. I watched the whole damn thing. And then I watched another one where another engineer out of Alaska was showing and using witness statements, because the firefighters also said that it was sagging on one side. So they evacuated everything and everybody from the building and the area. They stopped what they were doing and got the hell out, which was smart. But they saw something sagging, and then the bottom of the building, according to eyewitnesses and on the ground, when the first two buildings fell, apparently it did get struck by debris. It got struck by debris. I believe the worst part of it was, I think, toward the ground floors, like 4 through 1. And it had a big old dent in the side, like a big impression, like a gouge almost on the side of the building along that side.
It was the spire. The spire came off and it sliced it.
You would think if the building's sagging, it's got a weak spot at the bottom, that's the direction it's the least amount of resistance it's going to take. But it doesn't do that. It goes straight down.
Yeah.
So it's almost
like a planned demolition.
It's almost like it's fighting the laws of physics itself,
right?
For whatever reason.
Well, if you notice in that video too, that the air conditioning unit kind of falls through the center of the thing first before the building goes down.
Yeah, and that goes to what the NIST was saying in their video, is that the interior structure fell before the outside fell, and then so that brought everything down.
Well, they did say that nobody they talked to heard a sound, which is odd because of this right here.
I heard a big explosion. I didn't know what was going on, so I decided to look out my window. It's a building complex, so you can see the other side of the building. It started going into smoke. My neighbors came banging on my door telling me to get out. I guess they was evacuating the building, and I couldn't get out. My door was jammed. Everything off my windowsill fell, and I guess the impact of the explosion jammed the door as well.
How loud was it?
It was extremely loud. I couldn't even explain it to you if I couldn't. It was just so loud that it woke me out of my sleep. That's how loud it was.
It woke you up.
Yes.
I saw a man, looks like your father, was it? Came up just a few minutes ago, embraced you.
Yes, he did, because he was so worried of the way that I called him. I was actually almost having an anxiety attack because I was crying and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, and a point to what B-Dog said, both the BBC and CNN had live reporters doing a broadcast on another building across from the World Trade Center itself. And right behind the reporters was Building 7, and there it goes. But 30 minutes before, they said the building collapsed.
Yeah.
And it's on freaking record.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you Jesse the Body Ventura. The
Oh yeah, he had a big thing about it.
Yeah, he
idiot.
Well, he talked to Piers Morgan about this, and ironically, right after he was making the rounds and talking about this, the stolen valor allegation that was made against him by Chris, what's his name, the American Sniper guy. Yeah. That happened right after this. And so, and oh, by the way, Chris Kyle got murdered, immediately after that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Chris Kyle allegation came around this time, and it was disproven, and that it was proven later that Chris Kyle was lying. You know, it was proven later that the guy's widow, Chris Kyle's widow, sued Bobby Ventura. I mean, and did win in court on very little, very little evidence, and it ruined his reputation. And right after this, and so he's always speculated that maybe maybe this is part of what got him, what got him like murdered, in the public eye. But this is an interview he did with Piers Morgan.
Jesse, what would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden to steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
No, not oh, come off it. Wait a minute. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to people.
Wait a minute. In depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
and one
then
thing
how
I do know is
let me ask you this.
You cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour. Yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England yes, it's true,
you need to
that
take a
this
break
building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
If you're trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organisations in the world, was inventing huge buildings falling over, you need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk about Israel and Iran.
Are you kidding me? This is a fact, my friend.
Yep.
I've seen that one. Yeah, I've seen that interview.
I actually have what he's talking about. So, because I am good. There you go. There you go.
Good. Members of the media were reporting that the building had collapsed due to structural damage and fire, more than 20 minutes prior to it going down.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building has been weakened during this morning's attack. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
The building can clearly be seen in the background as Jane Stanley reports its demise.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were...
The feed would be cut before the building collapsed.
And just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with James Stanley.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Line. Yeah.
I remember that episode of the news. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was reporting on something that was still standing behind her as being. As a matter of fact, when he cut to her, he's like, "Oh, well, this building fell, and let's cut to her." and she's sitting here like talking about it and waxing poetic, and the freaking thing's over her left shoulder.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know about that at the time, but I remember that news clip.
And the thing, going back to Jesse's video, going back to the Ventura video, he was right about, bin Laden being a threat. And that the Bush administration kind of ignored the Clinton administration's intel on bin Laden. They kind of said, he's no threat to us. They kind of put bin Laden on the back burner kind of thing. And it turns out probably shouldn't have.
Well, the more I learn about Dick Cheney, I feel I feel really, I feel like really like stupid, because I defended George W. all the way to the wall, and I was just like brawling with people over George W. He's not behind this, blah blah blah.
Worst decision W ever did was having him as a running mate.
I don't know that he had a choice.
Well, I think Cheney injected himself into it, and he wasn't going to go away. He's power hungry, is what he is.
Well, I mean, who's he backing? Who did he just back yesterday?
Harris.
Anyone?
Yep. Knee pads.
Yep. He backed knee pads. Yeah. Heels up Harris.
Not surprised, because he's shunned his daughter, who is gay. Has nothing to do with her.
Right.
And so does the floozy that was on the J6 committee.
Oh yeah, his other daughter.
Yeah.
The other daughter. Yeah.
That traitorous POS.
Yeah, the one that got completely, totally wiped out in Wyoming. I think she got like 2% of the vote or something.
Not even that.
CIA false flag. Bin Laden's working with the CIA. Yeah. I think it's pretty funny that when Obama needed a boost before the election, suddenly they found Bin Laden.
Yeah.
And buried him at sea. Sight unseen. It is what it is. Anyway, but that one statement he made at the beginning of every war, there's been a false flag event.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've looked up a few of these. At the beginning of the Spanish-American War, there was the sinking of the USS Maine, and the biggest cry was "Remember the Maine," and then later on, people have pretty much found evidence that the Maine was sunk because there was a boiler explosion, because the Maine was like a really old ship, and evidently over the years it developed cracks in its the boiler, and so when they fired it up, it blew up.
Right.
And so they blame. So Randolph Hearst, who wanted to sell some papers, really, it's called yellow journalism. He really pushed that we need to make Spain pay for this, and it launched the career of one Theodore Roosevelt, who later became president.
Oh, well, how about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny because you see, like, this happened, then 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 this happened. And so, false flag event was the for World War I was the Duke Ferdinand.
Being assassinated.
Yeah,
that's right.
Supposedly by Serbian separatists, but that's never been proven. And then suddenly, Prussia over here is basically minding their own business is being attacked. Essentially, and so it's just like, and then by the way, while this was going on, suddenly the Titanic sinks. And J.P. Morgan pushes through and gets signed into law by Woodrow Wilson, the Federal Reserve. Yeah. So,
paper money.
There you go. So anyway, so what do you guys? What's the compelling evidence you guys have turned up?
Well, I was the the agencies that had offices in Building 7 was kind of interesting.
Okay.
You had the Secret Service had 2 floors in that in that building, and the Office of Emergency Management was in there too, along with an office of J.P. Morgan. So, and I have
Morgan?
Yeah. Or Paul Stanley. Stanley. Morgan Stanley. That's
Morgan
what it
Stanley.
was.
Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah. Or
Right.
one of those financial institutions.
One of the ones that like melted down at 2008.
Yeah, Smith Barney or something like that. But I did hear that, I don't know if it was in maybe one of the towers, but one of the finance offices for the government was in one of the buildings that collapsed.
Oh, really?
Because if you know, before this,
right,
Rumsfeld was having a presser or something and says, well, the Pentagon's misplaced $3 billion somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And it's like,
I remember
what do you mean?
that
$3
happened
billion?
right before.
Yeah, that happened literally right before. And then
Okay.
the funny thing,
Okay. Let's review. Go ahead. What?
Well, the funny thing is 9/11. You have visual evidence of 2 planes striking a building. You have another plane supposedly go down in the middle of a field somewhere, and they play off a gouge in the ground with some smoke as the wreckage. Yet the gouge in the ground was there years before. the same geological thing was there. And then you have the Pentagon.
The wreckage was never recovered.
Yeah, there's no
wreckage was never recovered.
Yeah.
No debris, no nothing.
Yeah. And then you have the Pentagon apparently gets a plane crashed into it that doesn't leave plow marks from the engines in the grass, didn't take out any of the freaking parking lot lights, and nobody saw it until the building exploded.
Or heard it.
And then before the top of the building had collapsed, while it was on camera, you could definitely see that the hole of the explosion, the impact, was smaller than what the size of the plane was supposed to be.
And by the way, it was a round circle, so no wings.
Yeah,
no
it was.
Where's the ring? Where's the
there's
engines?
no wing. There's no wing gouges because on the World Trade Center you can see the wing gouges on the building. But you don't see any of that on that building. And again, it's supposed to have been a 747. Yeah,
pretty
without wings.
Yeah, and nobody freaking saw it. And the two security cameras that have released footage, you can't see it. You can't see a plane. All you see is an impact. You see a split-second impact, a split-second blur, and then the impact explosion. And that's it.
Okay, follow me here. Also, supposedly the 4th plane that supposedly went down in Pennsylvania was meant to be aimed at the White House. Okay.
Right.
And
that was speculation. Yeah.
Yeah, and George W. basically traveled away from the White House at the last minute, and so who would have become president if that plane had crashed into the White House while George W. was there?
Tricky Dick Cheney.
Okay, so follow my logic here. That plane was taken over by people, by it was it's the only plane where people actually fought back.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Okay.
Well, we don't know.
So the thing about it is I mean, it's there's so much there that just makes you go, what? And if you notice that you're not even allowed to even speculate about it, it's like you're not even allowed to say anything negative about, maybe it didn't happen that way. That's one of them things that you're absolutely not allowed to question, kind of like Abraham Lincoln's motives, things like that, which later, which I'm becoming, as I get older, I'm starting to question more and more. Anyway, yeah. There you go. There you go. Shows what looks like a missile, right?
Yes. An aeroplane without
Okay.
wings does look like a missile sometimes, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does indeed. So if you misplaced, $3 billion, where are all the apparatuses that would have recorded where that 3 billion went? Where are they located? Anyone?
Possibly the Pentagon, since it is the Pentagon he was talking about.
Okay. So that you would have that there, the records there, but you would also have the records at the biggest money exchange on the planet at the time, which was
World Trade Center.
World Trade Center. There you go. Yes, and also you would have
unbelievable.
And who also is involved with keeping tabs on where money goes and who spends the money. CIA. Who had their office?
Secret Service,
right? And where their office located again? Anyone?
Building 7.
Building 7. Oh, okay. So, in one fell swoop, these hillbillies from Saudi Arabia find a way to completely, totally erase the money trail of $3 billion missing. And while they're doing their terroristic thing, which by the way led to the Patriot Act, which completely totally removed all American privacy within a couple of generations.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, so
it's so funny we have the TSA here now, where you have to go through, pretty much a jungle gym of shit to get on a plane, to go across country.
Right.
Other countries, you just go to the gate and you get on the plane. I mean, they don't screen for
pretty
shit.
Much. Yeah.
And by the way, the TSA, who in their existence have never succeeded in a security check.
Yeah.
No.
Never. They've never passed the security check.
Even though that's been their mandate since they were even created.
They were created to be security.
Yes.
That's in their name. And they've never passed the security check.
I have a theory as to what's caused all of it. All the buildings from coming down.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They were parkours and they were dressed as gremlins.
You're gonna make me point to the sign. Okay. Sign.
Is that what you're telling me?
Crummy little parkour.
I saw that coming.
Lives.
That's why I'm not impressed.
Dressed as gremlins, one of my funnest movies I've ever watched. Gremlins.
Gremlin.
So I walked right into that one. So anyway, so I did have a complete breakdown of how it came down and everything, but unfortunately, it was too big of a file, and I couldn't get it shrunk down enough in time. But it does seem to indicate that, as Cruel was saying, could you repeat what you said about how it collapsed, if you don't mind?
If I remember correctly, because the video I watched pretty much just focused on the collapse. There was none of the conspiracies of that. It was just that I do believe that strut number 79, 80, and 81 were the pivotal struts that went up from the power station or whatever it was, substation at the bottom, and it was supported because it didn't go straight down. They had beams and stuff like that to get it into the ground. A few other ones were that way as well, but I'm assuming that due to the damage and debris and the fires, because they showed a diagram of what would have happened with the spire on top of the tower that was next to it coming down, and it goes like this, and it cuts right through, wedge like a big wedge. So that would explain that damage. But there was some of the beams were bent at a very strange angle, and obviously they reckon it was the heat. The heat at some of the points of the fires mangled them, and it just came down, and it bent inwards. The footage shows that it looks like it's going like this, but it's not. It's going inwards. It's going inwards like that. It's just the way the angle looks, and it just goes down.
Well, there's something called melting point.
Right.
That there's kind of the reason why we use metal to be the for the skeletons of buildings is because metal has a very high melting point, which is why when you go to melt metal, you have to use a acetylene torch or something that creates a very high temperature.
Yes.
And mirror fire, unless it has some kind of like super accelerant to stoke it up to a heat level,
it's gotta be
would not melt steel. And it's like they're saying that this has never happened before, and it hasn't happened since.
The building apparently was on fire for at least, I think, 7 hours, and they couldn't put it out because they were dealing with the other two buildings and the rubble and whatever was left.
Right.
So that's why they weren't over there putting the fires out on that. But the penthouse, right at the very top, the east penthouse, I think it was supported by those 3 columns.
Right.
Which, if I remember correctly, were considered to be the pivotal columns.
Okay.
There was this stuff, and I sent videos a few weeks ago about it on our X chat. And there is this material or process or something, you can put it on metal, thick girders, like you would for a building. And it instantly shears those and melts them in half.
Right.
And they were showing how this was done. And then they showed some of the girders and stuff that from the debris field in the World Trade Center area. And you can see the horizontal cuts on these girders. And it's kind of like, okay, that doesn't look, and they were sheared. They weren't like bent or torn or frayed. They were just straight through, clean. And kind of leads to like something was done to that outside of what happened.
Well, that's the thing. This set a precedent that because it never has happened before. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bunny. I was just going to say, it sounds like, couldn't that have been thermite?
Could have been.
Because thermite will cut right through steel. And
I don't know how thick these girders are. I don't know. I mean, they got to be pretty stout to hold buildings up like that.
Yeah, those I-beams, they're huge.
Yeah.
Well, similar beams were used in the construction of the Empire State Building. And the Empire State Building took a direct hit from a DC-9 flying right into the side of it. And all it did was take out a few floors.
Right.
It got foggy, and somebody flew basically what constitutes a passenger liner directly into the Empire State Building, and all it did was take out a few floors. And they didn't even stop people from using the upper floors, above it, and so the idea that something that sturdy would just because of fire in like the drywall or in everything inside of it, would just collapse like that.
Right.
However, they have gotten, for decades, they've gotten really, really, really good at collapsing buildings so well that the buildings around them don't even get like dust on them.
Right. Oh, look at Las Vegas. They do it all the time.
All the time. All the time. And so what that looks like, and what a lot of people think it looks like, is it looks like somebody did a collapse, a charge collapse on, in the sub basement and all those girders. And they have figured out over the years the pressure points on all these buildings, and now and it takes somebody with a lot of technical knowledge. Okay, you can't just willy-nilly do it. The World Trade Center was bombed just less than a decade before. The jets flew into it, and they tried to blow it up from the parking garage. Okay, and all it did, that didn't even damage the structure of the building. And they parked it beside a girder, and it didn't even shift the building. And so the fact that jetliner, jet fuel could somehow fly into the side of it, and jet fuel was hot enough to have caused that much damage to cause the thing to collapse, that's problematic to start with. But with the Building 7's even more problematic, because Building 7, the only thing, besides the structural damage from the outside, which didn't touch the core of the building, it didn't go far enough into the building to touch the core of it. That was the only damage, physical damage that happened. But then they said, "Go ahead."
It didn't. The World Trade Center buildings came down about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
By 10 o'clock, they were both down.
Mm-hmm.
Building 7 didn't go down until like 5 o'clock in the evening. So.
Right.
Hours later.
Yeah, but Abby, what about Building 6?
Building 6 got buried by the Twin Towers.
Building 6
and Building
had a
6,
huge crater in the frickin' center of it.
Bigger than the two twins.
And on video, as I think the first one was coming down, there was a big, huge, what looked like a big puff of smoke, like an explosion off to the left of where the camera was facing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Building 6. I didn't even know that there was a Building 6 until just like an hour
There's like
ago.
9 buildings down there.
Yeah.
And so what was in Building 6?
I've not done research on this. I don't know.
I can't remember what that video that was posted said. It had to be some government offices. The funny thing is, here's a funny thing also about Building 7. Building 7 was stuck right between a U.S. Postal Service building and Verizon.
Yeah.
It's right dead center of those. Those two buildings never came down.
Right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't think they were even evacuated, were they?
I don't know.
Until like late in the game. So I don't know. We just like take some things for granted, and I think we take some things for granted with the press, what we've been told by the press. At least I have. And I'm starting to go back and look at things that the press told me that I just took for granted, and the fact that somebody is slimeball like Piers Morgan, immediately like dismissed everything that Jesse Ventura was saying, and I have a tendency to not believe anything that comes out of that man's mouth, because Jesse's a doofus lefty, but I watched him when he was on Joe Rogan, and he was like talking about what happened with Chris Kyle, and he was like holding himself, kind of like self-soothing. It's called self-soothing. Like he was really traumatized by this whole thing, how this had happened to him, because he actually had a lot of affection for the armed forces. He was a Green Beret.
SEAL.
And
Navy SEAL.
A SEAL.
Navy
I'm
SEAL.
sorry, he was a
Yeah.
SEAL. He was a Navy SEAL. And so he had a real good reputation, and he prized that reputation almost above anything else that he and to have that removed from him. And I've always wondered, I was like, why did they go after, why did they go after him like that? And Chris Kyle, I'm sorry. I know Chris Kyle is like, the American Sniper thing. I've always thought Chris Kyle was shady. I mean, I've always thought he was very, very shady. And to have Chris Kyle go after him like that right before he was, murdered, and I was like, why in the world did they go after Jesse? He's been mouthing off about stuff for years. And then watching that today, and I went back and looked, and it was just just a couple months after he started asking these questions that this happened. This incident supposedly happened. An incident that he really didn't have direct participation in, Right. But and this defamation suit against him was like, it was about as it looked like a Trump of prosecution. I mean, it was all hearsay. I mean, there's no damage.
Didn't he countersue and win?
He won the countersuit, and he got a bunch of shit for that because they were saying, "Why is he going after?
Why was he going after a widow, even though she's a multi-millionaire off of that book?"
Yeah.
But yeah, he countersued and won, and but none of the press would cover that, and they all like denigrated him in the press because he wanted his reputation back, because he wanted these SEALs to know that he didn't do this.
He's persona non grata in the SEAL community anymore. He doesn't go to anything. He's not welcome to them and stuff like that. So, because some of the stances he's had, some of the things he's done. So,
well, yeah, but the fact that at this time I was just completely dismissive of him. I mean, I bought the whole W. Bush thing. I bought it until Trump showed, until he started buddying up with Obama, and then Trump showed it
and Clinton
and Clinton, and I just realized how much of part of the machine he is, and I don't know that he knows he's part of the machine. I really think the guy has I really think the guy's just a frat boy who just got like stuck in the middle of everything. Kind of like Kamala. He's kind of like a Kamala figure, but I mean, but the more you look into this, the more you start like asking questions, the more questions that pop up.
Right.
And I kind of, going down this rabbit hole of the 9/11 thing, in Building 7, what could have been in Building 7? What I couldn't find anything like to say specifically what was in Building 7, which is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, is there like a listing of what was in Building 7?
I had something up here. Like I said before, the first the floors 9 and 10 had Secret Service. 25th floor was CIA offices, and it doesn't say what floor they were on, but the Office of Emergency Management was in that building as well. And Solomon Smith
I
Barney.
just realized something. I just realized something. You know who investigates fake money?
Secret Service.
Secret Service.
The Secret Service investigates.
Yeah, the
fake
Department
money.
of Treasury.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
about to
back
say
then they
Treasury,
were.
yeah.
They were.
Well,
they were.
But I mean, that's what the whole G-Man thing came from. That's what Elliot Ness did. Was
Right.
He investigated, and so Secret Service is like historically taking that searches down like counterfeit and also fraud,
financial crimes.
financial fraud. So, so there you go. I mean, it could have been the Secret Service they were after that building. Goodness gracious.
Oh, if that's $3 billion missing, yeah.
Yeah, Building 7 financial
was in
papers.
the Pentagon. And the funny thing about that,
There you
with
go,
the
Building
Pentagon-
7 financial papers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Pentagon being struck is exactly where that quote-unquote plane struck the building was the offices that housed all the information that was going to be investigated for the missing money.
The Bursar's office,
Really?
I think it's called. Yeah.
Wow. That's totally not a coincidence.
No,
not at all.
And it's funny if you look at that explosion, it happens at ground level.
Yeah.
If you're a plane coming down, operative word is down. Aren't you coming like into the building from the air and not the ground?
Yeah, you think there would have been more damage to the
Yeah,
top of it, right?
It's almost as if the thing was flying like a cruise missile.
Really?
Could be.
I need to get to CNC Music Factory. Things that go, you know.
Yeah,
and I need to get that. I need to get that.
Interesting.
The owner of Building 7 took out insurance on the building a week or so before 9/11.
There was a lot of that stuff going on too. All these different companies were doing weird shit, and that was a Monday, by the way. And a lot of people did not come to work at the trade centers for whatever reason. There was a lot of them didn't show up, and they had no rhyme or reason for not coming up. Now I know that there was reports of some people who were told don't come in. They were actually called that morning and told not to come into work or go to an alternate office across town or something like that.
All the important people were given a phone call.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Well, one thing that not at all. No. Okay. So one other thing. The day that Trump got shot, every major news outlet was covering the rally.
Yep.
Most of them for the first time ever.
Yep.
And CNN was there, which is odd because they never cover his rallies.
Never. They never cover his rallies. And not only that, but they weren't muting his speech.
No, they weren't.
They always mute his speech and then reinterpret it if they ever cover it.
And that was the only time he had sniper details at his rally.
The only time. And so it's like if you wanted to talk about the press couldn't have known beforehand, you know, which I saw this other guy is like, I don't believe the press would have known it beforehand. I don't think it would have told the press beforehand. Look at that.
Bullshit.
Look at that. That was supposed to be a live execution, guys.
Okay, if the press doesn't know about it, how come the press was out front of Roger Stone's house when he got
raided?
raided?
They're like waiting outside. They're like, before the raid even happened, they were there.
Yep. Absolutely. They were. In fact, that's how he knew something was happening. He called his lawyer because he had CNN out front.
Yeah, exactly.
Before he got raided. So, I mean, if anybody wants to believe that the press isn't like hand in hand,
Roger Stone, 70-year-old man, and they fucking want to kick down his door with
a wife with dementia and
the TAC team.
They wouldn't even let him get his wife taken care of.
No,
before they drug him out of there in
jackasses.
In his underwear and
it was all for show. So. It was all for freaking show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Intimidation.
Oh come on! He might have had a minigun in there. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
I think it's funny because they're trying to do this to Trump and give him the perp walk and everything. Yeah. Okay, yeah, he got the mugshot. What happened? He made T-shirts out of it, and his ratings went up. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And oh, by the way, if anybody thinks anything's happened to Fonnie Willis, she got pulled over the other day, and guess who was her co-pilot?
Uh-oh.
her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend was her co-pilot. This is on the cam. She's not even supposed to be near that guy,
Nice.
Who is?
And
this
so,
person?
I mean,
body cam.
if you think there's anything happening to these people, I mean, hold
Not
on.
yet.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah, not yet. Not yet.
yet.
This body cam from local SWAT in Butler livid with the Secret Service that day. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. There's a guy that was saying
try to blame the Butler PD and the Sheriff's Department for all the problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
PD
guy
and
that
the-
was literally said. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Both of those local departments, those local Leos, all showed up for a meeting that the Secret Service set up, and
Never
nobody
showed up
freaking
for.
showed up. Feds.
Nope.
They
Nope.
didn't show up.
And then there's a guy on camera that said that morning when they finally did show up, he's like, "We got to cover that roof." And they told him they'd take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They told him they would take care of it. Okay. So that was supposed to be a live execution, guys. It's by the grace of God that the man's still walking around today.
I think Trump would have been better off at the Pinkerton Detective Agency at this
Yeah,
point.
no kidding. Pinkertons.
But right after that, that's when suddenly Joe Biden was too demented to be the presidential candidate. Right after
that was
that.
their
Oh,
last
we all
ditch.
miss. We all miss Joe, don't we? You know.
Oh, we miss him. Well, we're not missing him. He's on the beach at Rehoboth. We get pictures every day if you want to see him.
The gaffs were so much
There you go.
fun.
Anyway, well, they were.
Does
They
Joe
were
even
wonderful.
know where he's at anymore?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, so I guess we're gonna do this vote. It's in the chat right now, and I'm pretty sure I know where we're going with this. But should I just go ahead and do confirmed? Anybody? Is there anybody that has any doubt whatsoever?
Okay,
Well, actually, no, it's confirmed. No,
Okay,
I think it's definite. You know what? If this
Did you have a poll, Bunny?
Yes, he's got a poll in his chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a poll. I've got a poll.
You can't do that. You can't do that, mate. You can't do that, mate, because you're on the panel.
Okay.
You can't do that, mate. You're on the panel here, and if you do that on there as well, that's cheating. I don't know why I'm speaking like this, but that's cheating.
Okay.
Well, you know something though. If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Not cheating.
That's also a good point. Yeah.
Where the hell do we go? How the hell did we go Scottish all of a sudden? What the hell?
I don't know. What was I going to say?
Senor.
I was going to say.
Well, see, I don't want to be crap.
Don't be crap
for my burrito.
I mean, I believed the narrative at the time, but it was long after. Long after.
Oh yeah,
when,
absolutely. Same here.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Same here.
Well, evidently, okay, I'm going to end the poll right now, but it's 75%. We've got 4 votes, 3 for undecided, and 1 for confirmed. So we're ending the poll right now. So that's the breakdown on that poll. So we have any undecideds on the board? Anybody on the panel that's undecided? No. Okay. So with the 1 vote over there and the 4 votes over here, we're going to go ahead and declare this. So,
and just like that, the SWAT team's kicking in the door.
They come. Here they come.
Get in the chopper now.
Get in the chopper.
All right.
Run.
So, okay. So we're just going to go with confirmed on that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So Joe Biden is missing Joe
Sounds
Biden.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's missing.
We confirmed.
So appreciate everybody for showing up tonight, including the panel. Thank you guys for deciding to
Thank
show
you for
back
having
up.
us.
After,
Had nothing better.
Anyway.
Why not?
Good, nothing better than
Nothing better. Well, love the loyalty. Love the loyalty.
What
though.
the hell?
Yeah, there was a huge gap in my schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So next week I'm going to pick the cryptid because Cruel's not much of a cryptid guy, but he is a conspiracy guy.
Yeah.
So beyond that, next week we're going to do dragons. Are dragons real?
Dragons.
I just beat the shit out
Dragons.
of them in my video game.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. And beyond that, the week after that, we're going to do another conspiracy, and that's going to be Cruel's choice. So Cruel has a week to come up with a conspiracy
choice
for us.
In 2 weeks, we'll find out.
So, yeah.
Fuck's sake.
We'll find out what Cruel's choice in 2 weeks. You don't have to come up with it now. You got 2 weeks, Cruel. You got 2 weeks.
Just message it to him.
Next weekend, maybe.
All right. So next week we're going to talk about are dragons real? Are they
dragons?
Are they dinosaurs or is there something else there? And there's a lot of historical fact, and there's one of those creatures that seems to follow all across the world. All different cultures seem to have their version of dragon, and so there's a lot
dragon and the Chinese dragon and Japanese dragon. And,
St. George and the dragons. I mean, there seems to be a lot of dragon lore, and so are
Dragon
they
Ball
real?
Z?
Dragon Ball Z.
Fire of Rain.
Not quite dragons. Not quite dragons, but
Rain of Fire.
Yeah. There you go, Rain of Fire. Yeah, great movie, great movie. I probably used
I've got that somewhere.
I'm sure you do. I am
I'm
sure
gonna have to watch that again. I'm gonna have to watch that again.
By the way, Sonic. Did you watch Sonic 2 yet?
I did.
No.
Yes. Yeah, they were both good movies. I really enjoyed them.
I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second one.
Oh, the second one's good. Second one's funny. It's great.
Yeah, the second one's probably funnier than the first one. Maybe not not as good of a movie, but it's definitely funnier. Anyway, so we'll call that a night. Thank you all for coming. The Cryptids and
Yes, had a good time.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you did. Get a boom mic. Get a boom mic. Dude.
I will.
That's
your
time.
That's going to last more than 6 months.
A broom mic.
There you go.
Staple it to the wall.
Get a little stand like I did, and you put it back in the back.
There you go.
Leave it outside and
Anyway,
attract all the parkours.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it was parkour that did it. They
Once we
knocked
go
down the
parkour, it's time to leave. Okay. Between the Cryptids
They were
and the
dressed up like
conspiracies,
wearing
in
gremlin
the middle,
outfits and
we'll
dressed
see
up,
you
and they
next
did
week.
it. They snuck in and they
They
brought
look
the
like
buildings down.
ninjas.
All right.
They just ninjas on the lawn. Anyway,
So they took their mask off and they smiled at you. It's like, holy shit.
no teeth in their
All right,
parkour.
we're done. We're done.